Welcome, everyone. As we are sponsored by Shalom Fogel, Nishmas Yaakov Zeb, and Yudaya Rivka Bas Yaakov Yosef, Tzivya Miriam Bas Gad, Yosef Ben Tzim Ben Yaakov Zeb, L'Fu Shalema for Moshe Arya Ben Miriam, and for a great shidduch for Chayat Tzivya Bas Shoshana Gittel, also for a great shidduch for Batya Bas Sar, was sponsored by Baruch Ian, Lil Nishmas Yaakov Chaim Ben Abba, Esther Bas Yona, Avram Ben Shmuel HaKohen, L'Fu Shalema for Liba Bas Anya. We also learn, and I'm sorry I haven't mentioned it for a week because I didn't have it, but we also learn for Shalema for Yosef Shmuel Ben Miriam, and for a healthy mommy, a healthy baby for Ariel Bas Elza Rivka. We are dedicated by Yitzi Fuchs, Nishmas Tadait is Rabbi Shayla Kiristira's Yortzeit. Rabbi Yeshayla ben Ramaishi Nashama should have an aliyah. He should be a Melitz Yosha and Gans Klal Yisrael. Okay, so
I have a yortzeit also.
Oh, right, and it's a yortzeit of Shelley Zeitlin's father,
Yehuda Leib ben Yerucham Fishel.
Yehuda Leib ben Yerucham Fishel. His neshama should have a lichtige Gan Eden. He should be a Melitz Yosha for his family, for all of us and all of Klal Yisrael.
Amen.
Okay, we are holding on the bottom line, and the Gemara is now going to give us a different configuration of the height of the Mizbeach, which will satisfy Rabbi Kran's question from last night about the standing on the ledge and yet having an amma to the chut hasikra. Ella cheka amma begova. The base, when it says it's 5 tvachim, that's talking about the height of the base is 5 tvachim. Amma roichev, the amma of the ledge is kenisa. That means it's indented 5 tvachim. Gvula el svasa saviv, the corners, when it says that it's 5 tvachim, loish nahachi v'loish nahachi. It could go either way. And therefore we'll say that the height is 5 tvachim, and also the indentation towards the center of the Mizbeach is also 5 tvachim. Now, once we figure out that way, so that means of the 10 amas of the height of the Mizbeach, 8 of them are 6 tvachim, and 2 of them, the base and the corner, is 5 tvachim. So that's 48, 6 times 8 is 48, and 2 times 5 is 10, so that gives us 58. Kamahava, so the height is Chamshin B'tamnei, 58. Now, what's half of 58? Palgid Mizbeach Kamahava. What's half where the Chut HaSikra will be? Esim B'tisha. Half of 58 is 29. Now, Mikronos Vad Soivev, from the Kronos until the Soivev, is 3 amas of 6 and 1 amma of 5. So that's 18 plus 5 is 23. So Mikronos Vat Soivev Kamahave, Esim Ritwasa, 23. So 23 to midpoint, which is 29, is a full amma. The Tananim also Lamata Miraglov, if he applies it, the blood of the Oilus Ha'oif below his feet, afilu amma, even an amma achas, even 1 amma kshera. And that fits in very good because from 23, an amma down would be 29, which would be the midpoint, which would be the Chut HaSikra. And Dekanami, it is also meduyik this way that the Cheka Amma and the Roichev Amma is talking about 2 different measurements. The Chsiv Cheka Amma, so that the base is height. The Amma Roichev and Amma width, that means that it's indented in Amna. Shma Mina. Now, the Kama Amma Beinanis, what's the Amma Beinanis? Am Rabbi Yochanan Shisha Tvachim. that's an amma of 6 tvachim. So now the Gemara says, we learned likewise, Reb Meir Omer HaShulchan, the Shulchan Orka Ishneim Asa V'rach B'Shisha. Now we know that the Shulchan was 2 by 1 amma, and since you're telling me it's 12 by 6 tvachim, Michlal Dahavi Amma, therefore we see that an amma is 6 tvachim. Now since we call the amma of 6 tvachim an amma beininus, an intermediate amma, Michlal Dahavya Amma Nefishamine, that there's an amma that's more than that. Says the Gemara, there is in Vatanan Shtei Amas Hoya B'Shushan Abira. If you remember, we said that over the eastern gate there was a image of Shushan Abira, and there was over there a chamber, and in that chamber there were 2 amma measuring sticks. Achas al Keren Mizrachis Tvainis, one on the northeastern corner, v'achas al Keren Mizrachis Raimis, and one on the southeastern corner. Shal Keren Mizrachis Tvainis, the one on the northeastern corner, Yisera al Shal Moshe, was more than the amma of Moshe, Chatzi Espa, a half a finger breadth. Shal Keren Mizrachis Draimis, and the one that was on the southeastern corner, Hoysa Yisera Alea Chatzi Etzba, was extra another half an etzba. In other words, a full etzba, Nimsis Yisera al Shal Moshe Etzba. Now, V'lama Amru Achas Gedayla v'Achas Ketana. Why did they have such measuring sticks? I mean, what's going on over here? The Omen would take the measurements, what's needed material to deliver to the Beis Hamikdash, with the regular small measure of Moshe Rabbeinu. Umarzirin b'gedayla, and then they would return it using the bigger measurement, in order to make sure that they didn't shortchange hektish, so that there was no chance of me'ila. Kedei shelo yavo lidei mila. In other words, if anything, they wanted to give more, they never wanted to risk giving less. So then why did they have one that was a half an etzba more, and one that was a full etzba more? V'tarte lamali, chada lekasba v'dava. One is where they were measuring out silver and gold. Measuring out silver and gold, there a differential is a lot of money, so there they only made the differential a half an etzba. The chada lebinyana, when it came to the construction, where the materials are not that expensive, there they made the differential a full etzba. Tanan Hasan, we learned in the Mesechtes Midas, we just learned it in the Mishnah Gaimis, Shara Mizrach, the eastern gate, Olav Shushan Abira Tzura. Upon it was an image of Shushan, the capital. So my time, what's the reason? Rav Chisda, Rav Yitzchak, Rav Dimi. Rav Chisda and Rav Yitzchak, Rav Dimi. Chad Amar Kidei Sheyadu Mehechan Bo. In order that we should be Makir Toiv, where we came from, that we were freed from the Gullus bubble by the Persians, and that Koresh allowed the Beis Hamikdash to be rebuilt, and it was rebuilt taka under the reign of Darius II, who was Esther Amalka's son. V'chad Amar, and one said, no, it was the insistence of Persia, Kedei Shetei Amos Malchus Aleim, that we should have the fear of the Persian Empire upon us. Now, this is taka, a Jewish idea. It's a Jewish idea to be in awe of even secular royalty. You should have the proper awe for even secular royalty. Where do we see this? From Moshe Rabbeinu's treatment of Paro. Moshe Rabbeinu said, the night of Makas Bechiris, all your servants are going to come down to me. Now the truth of the matter is Paro came down to him begging for them to leave. But he gave respect. Yodu kol avadecha elai v'shtachavu leimar v'ilu l'didei loy kamalei. He didn't say you're going to come down. Now, so therefore he was giving kavod l'malchus. I also always felt that Moshe Rabbeinu also wanted to put the fear of God in Paro. He said, your avodim are going to come down, but you're a bechar. You might not be alive. That's why he said, "V'yardu kol avadecha elai elai," because Paro himself was a bechar. He also used an ambiguous phrase. He said, "Mi bechar Paro hayoshev al kisai." Now, the bechar Paro hayoshev al kisai could be read two ways. It could mean the firstborn of Paro, or it could mean Paro the bechar. So again, he was scaring Paro. There's a third place where he scared Paro, because if you remember, Paro made himself like a god. Right? That's why he went and he toiveled in the Nile, and he went to the bathroom there. He claimed he didn't have to go to the bathroom. And Moshe Rabbeinu said, "Uv'chol Elohei Mitzrayim eser shvatim." So he really scared Paro's wits, and even so, we know that Paro, the gestupte cup that Paro had, it says that at Makas Bechiris, it says, "Vayokam Paro Laila," and Rashi took his pen, dipped it in the ink, and wrote, "Vayokam Paro." Rashi writes, "Mimi Tosai." He got up from his bed. That means that night Paro lay down. How can you lay down that night? You're a bechar. Moshe Rabbeinu was batting 1,000. That's how Hashem hardened Paro's heart. Rabbi Yochanan Mehacha. How do we know that we should show awe to royalty? Shenem avayad Hashem hoise el Eliyahu, and the hand of Hashem was with Eliyahu. Vayeshanei smosnav, and he girded his loins. Vayoretz lefnei Achav, and he ran before Achav. Although Achav was a wicked king, but Achav wasn't being escorted, so he ran to escort Achav. Ad by Acha Yisraela, until they came to Yisrael, who was the king of the 10 tribes. Now it says that a miraculous stream will emanate from the Kodesh HaKadoshim, and it will continue to widen, and it will leave through the Shar HaMayim, the water gate, and it will have miraculous fruit, and it says in the Pasuk, V'aleyu l'srufa, and its leaves will be for healing. It's a machlokes, what kind of healing? Rav Chisda Rav Yitzchak Ba'avdimi. Chadam lahater peshel amala. One said that it caused mutes to be cured, that they should be able to speak. Chadam lahater peshel amata. It caused barren women to be fertile. Itmar Chizkiya lahater pe'elmin. He said it beferish. It means to cure mutes. Ba'kapara lahater pe'akarais, to cure barren women. Now, the Gemara is going to explain, we know that there were 4 props, 4 stacks, and each had, in between them, each sandwiched 6 chalas of the lekam upon him. 1 row of 6, and another row of 6. So the Gemara is going to show us why all the words of the pasuk are necessary. Ilu nemar v'lakachta solis, you should take fine flour. V'afisa isam shtayim esrei chalas, and bake them into 12 chalas. V'samtem isam shtayim arachas, and put them in 2 rows. V'loi nemar sheish, and it didn't say rows of 6. Hayisi aimer, you could even do 4 and 8. 1 row of 4, 1 row of 8. You could do 4 and 8, or you could do 5 and 7. The kach nemer sheish, it has to be 2 stacks of 6. V'ilu nemer shtayim arachas, 2 rows, sheish amarechas, and 6 in a row. V'loi nemer shtayim esrei, and it didn't say 12. I might think we should read it 2 rows, and then another sheish marechas, and then another 6. And maybe you need 18. 3 of 6. L'kach nemer shtayim esrei. V'ilu nemer shtayim esrei chalas, umarachis. If it said 12 chalas, and stacks, v'loy nemer shtayim v'sheish, and it didn't say shtayim, 2 rows and 6, I might say you could have 3 rows, you could have 3 rows of 4.
There's not room on the
Huh?
There's not room on the table for 3 rows.
Well, if you put them sideways, there would be room. The kach nemar shtayim v'sheish, 2 and 6. Ad shelo yomer gimel mikrois halalu, and if it wouldn't, see that's one of the jobs of Gemara, to show how every word in the Torah is used. Ad shelo yomer gimel mikrois halalu, and unless you said these 3 verses, loy lamanu. Ha-ketzad, nois and shtayim arachas, you put 2 stacks, shel sheish, of 6, 6. V'im nos and achar shel arba v'achar shel shmoin, if you made one of 4 and one of 8, lo yotza. What if you make 2 stacks of 7? Shtayim shel sheva sheva, Rebbe says, yeah, we just ignore the extra one, and it's good. Rebbe Yomer royin es al yoina ki'ilu eina, we look at the extra one as if it's not there. But wait a second. You have to put the spoonful of frankincense on top, and now the 7th challah is an interception. You have to put the frankincense, the spoonful of frankincense, on the 6th challah. Rav Chisda, Rav Chisda said to Rav Huna, Rav Chisda, Rebbe l'tamei, Rebbe goes according to his reasoning, the Amar al b'samach, that al means alongside. He's going according to the Shita, that there was 12 tvachim, and there were 2 tvachim in the middle where they placed the spoons. The Tanya, Rabbi Yomer v'nasat al amareches l'vayna zaka, they put by the stacks pure frankincense, al b'samach, it was next to the stacks. Ata Yomer al b'samach, you say it means alongside, oy eina ela al mamish, kishu Yomer v'sakosa ala oren es haparaychas, that you put upon the oren the curtains. Now the curtains were not on the oren. The curtains were in front of the Aron. So it means alongside the Aron. Havi Aimer al B'samach. Okay, just getting underway over here. I see we have 36 Zoomers joining us as we welcome in... What? No, 30, I'm sorry. 30 Zoomers.
I think that says 50.
As we welcome in Dr. Guy, and what's wrong with that statement is, I think, Saba, Marshall, Irving Fishbaum, Baruch Ian, Shalom Fogel, Mel Zachter, Berish Gesserman, Michael, Lencian Cohn, Yisrael Fisher, Mel Kushner, Shali Zeitlin, Yaakov Warman, Rebel Yafi, Eddie Chazan, Rabbi Kranz, Dr. Black, Yitzi Fuchs, and Gabriel Epstein and son. Good to have you. Naftali Jablin, Stephen Holtzman, Rebel Yeshutman, Moshe Lehman, Avram Rezepkowitz, Daniel Rosenberg, Yeshua Shmuel Eisenberg, Yitzi Muller, and Shimon Klein. And here in the shul, we have Gedalia Engel, Chaim Kramer, Michal Avram Chavin, Danny Vogel, Iran, and Ruvain Shanit. We're still short of a minyan over here. Still hoping more people will come. Well, Barish will have a full Shalema. He'll join us. And Reb Elia Yafi will get a scooter, and he'll join us. And hopefully we're going to have Reb Shlomo Bernstein come as well. And then we should have a beautiful minyan. Now, we're holding on to 2 dots. 6 lines from the bottom of Tzadik Ches Amud Aleph. Kol HaKelim Shebemikdash all went from east to west. Now, not everybody holds that way. Tanu Rabbanan Kol HaKelim Shebemikdash Orkan, their length was Orkan Shel Bayis, was along the length of the house. In other words, it ran from east to west. Chutz Ma'aron, except for the Aron went from north to south. Because its length went to the width of the house. That's how it was there. V'kacha yabad of Menachim, and that's the way its poles were placed. So the Gemara says, what do you mean that's the way it was placed, and that's the way its poles were placed? Who's talking about the poles? My kamer, hachi kamer, kacha munach, meaning that midabadav kacha munachim. We know that the menorah was from south to west because we know that the badim went from south to north, because we know that the badim, which were along the width of the Aron, went from east to west. The badav minalan. How do we know that the badim went from east to west? The Tanya vayarichu habadim, and the badim were put in long. I might think that they didn't touch the paraychas. You could see their impression from the outside. I might think that we should tear a hole through the paraychas that you should actually see the badim. They won't be seen. So what does it mean? They're seen and they won't be seen. Okay, tzad. Doichken, they press against the curtain, or boltin b'proiches, and they leave an impression, a projection in the curtain. V'doimen kamin shnei dadei isha, and it's like the impression seen from outside of a woman's breasts, that you see the projection of the women's breasts from outside. Now, this metaphor of a breast, Shenema tzrar hamor doidili, a packet of myrrh, is my beloved to me. This is referring to the ketores that's done bein abadim, between the badim on Yom Kippur, bein shada yolin, and the badim, the ketores rest between the breasts. Why is it called breasts? Because the poles project and leave an impression in the curtain like breasts. Now, how do we know that the badim are along the short side, the width of the aron? Minalan the bad of lepusya the aron haviyasvei. How do we know that the poles were on the width of the aron? Dilma la'orkei the aron hava. Maybe they're along the length of the aron. Rabbi Yehuda Trey Gavrei. Two people carried it, and the two people that carried it would not fit in the amma and a half between the two poles. The Trey Gavrei ba'amso palga loy mistagelu. Two people in an amma and a half would not fit. So it can't be that it was along the length, rather it was along the width, so there's a lot of room for the two people. Says the Gemara, how do you know there were two people on each side? We know how do we know that four people carried the aron? That we know the and they carried it for the traveling, the kahasim, that's in plural, trey, noise mikdash, and then it says again, the carriers of the mikdash, nami trey, that's another two. So that's how we know four. Now, Shlomo HaMelech, besides the Shulchan of Moshe Rabbeinu, made 10 extra tables. Tanu Rabbanan Asara Shulchanos also Shlomo HaMelech. He made 10 tables besides the table of Moshe Rabbeinu. Shenema Vayash Shulchanos Asara. He made tables 10. Vayonach B'Heichel, and he placed them in the Heichel. Chamisha Miyamin v'Chamisha Mismal. 5 to the right of Shulchan HaMoshe, and 5 to the left.
What purpose did they serve?
I don't know.
Was there a lechem apanim on them?
I think there was. But I don't know why he did that. I don't know what the reason is for it. V'im timer chamishim yimin ha-pesach v'chamishim ismael ha-pesach. Maybe it means 5 to the right of the door and 5 to the left of the door. That can't be, because then you would be putting 5 of the shulchanais in the darim. Im came matzinu shulchan b'darim, and that can't be because v'atayra ima v'ashulchan titain al tzelat tzafin on the right side, on the northern wing, the northern side. Ela shel Moshe be'emtza, the table of Moshe was in the middle. Chamisha miyaminai v'chamisha mismaila, 5 to its right and 5 to its left. And the same thing was with the menorah. Tan Rabbanan, Asa menorahs asa shleima. Shlomo HaMelech made 10 menorahs. Shenemar v'yas esa menorahs hazov. He made golden menorahs. Eser kemishpat, 10 like the law. V'yitein beheichel, and he put them in the heichel. Chamishi miyamin v'chamishi mismal, 5 to the right and 5 to the left. V'im toimar, maybe it means to the right and left of the door. V'im toimar chamishi miyamin apesach chamishi mismal apesach. That's no good, because im came matzinu menorah b'tzafin, then there would be 5 menorahs in the north. It has to be opposite the shulchan in the south. Ela shel Moshe be'emtza, the menorah of Moshe was in the middle. Chamisha miyamina, 5 to its right. V'chamisha mismail. Now, Tani Chada, we learned in one brisa, mechatzi bayis ulufnim hayu menachem. They were placed from half of the bayis and within. V'tani Chada mishlisha bayis ulufnim hayu menachem. Now, really, they're not arguing. The full length of the Kodesh and the Kodesh Kedoshim was 60 amas. The Kodesh Kedoshim was 20 amas, and the Kodesh was 40 amas. So the one that says that it was half, that's talking about only the Kodesh. So it was in the latter 20 of the Kodesh. The one that says third is talking about the full amount of the Kodesh and the Kodesh Kedoshim. So that's 60. So it was after the first third, after the first 20. But like Kasha, there's no contradiction. Marko Chofesh Bayis Kochak Kedoshim Hadei Heichel. One counted the Kodesh Kedoshim together with the Heichel. So then it's 60, and it started after a third. It started after the first 20. Maloi Kochosha Beis Kochak Kochim. So then it was only 40. So then it started after the first half, which was again about the Heichel, which is again after the first 20. Tan Rabbana. Mizrach u'Mariv hayu menachem. They were placed from east to west. Divrei Rebbe. Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon Aimer, Tzafin v'Dorim. They were placed from north to south. So the Gemara says, my time of the Rebbe. Gabam menorah. We learn out from the menorah. Ma menorah mizrach u'Mariv. The menorah was from the east to the west. Afhani nami mizrach u'Mariv. How do we know that the menorah was from the east to the west? O menorah gufa minalan. Midichsiv b'ner man ravi. Since it said about the western ner, Yarech oisay Aaron lefnei Hashem. So if there was only one ner that was west, the most western, that means that there are other neighbors that weren't that western. But if it went from north to south, then all the neighbors were equally facing the west. So Mechlal de Kulu lav lefnei Hashem. But if it went that it went from north to south, then all of the neighbors were equally facing the west. Kulu nami lefnei Hashem ninu. But if it went from east to west, so then the furthermost ner is closest to the west. That would be the ner maravi. Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon, my timer, Gama me'aron. He learns out from the Aron. Now we said already that Aron went from north to south. Ma Aron tzafin v'darim. It went from north to south. Afami nami tzafin v'darim. Says the Gemara. The Rebbe nami ligma Aron. Now he's not going to learn from the Aron because he doesn't learn the outside from the inside. Done in chutz me chutz. We learn out from the menorah which is outside. We ain't done in chutz me b'fnim. We don't learn out from the menorah which is inside. Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon ligma menorah. He says no. The menorah was also north to south. Amalach menorah gufat tzafim v'darim having mancha. What do you do with lifnei Hashem? Then there's no ner maravi. There's no ner that's more towards the west. El oksiv yarach oisei aron ubanav. No, this means that there were 7 lamps. The middle lamp, its wick was tilted to the west. The other 3 were tilted to the middle lamp. 3 on one side tilted to the middle lamp, 3 on the other side tilted to the middle lamp, as you see in the Gemara's picture in Rashi. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Shimon, Ligma Menaira, Amalach Menaira, Gufet Safim V'darim Avi Mancha. El Hoksiv Yarach Oisei Aaron Abanav, the Metzadid Lu Atzdudei. He tilted the wicks towards the middle, and the middle one was tilted toward to the west. The Tanya El Mul Pnei HaMenaira, towards the middle of the Menaira, Ya'iru Shivas HaNeiris, Malamed Shoyu Metzadidim Pneim Klape Nerem Tzai. They tilted it to the middle ner, and the middle ner tilted towards the west.
What difference would it make? I mean, when they're light, when they're tilting the wicks, but when they actually lit it, the flames go up.
I guess it had a little bit direction. Now, so the Gemara says an interesting thing. So we see, according to the opinion of Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Shimon, the middle one was chashuv. Now this has a halachic ramification. It says that by aliyas you should give 10 psukim. Now 10 is not divisible equally with 3 aliyas. So we should give the middle one the 4 psukim. The first one 3, the last one 3, and the middle one 4. As the Gemara says, Amar Reb Nosson, this is Reb Nosson's opinion, Mikan she'em tzoi meshubach. The middle one is praiseworthy. So now the Gemara says, we got a problem. That they went from east to west. That's how 10 tables could fit in. Remember we said it was in the second 20 amas. That's how you could fit 10 tables in 20 amas. Because each table was 2 amas long. And even though, of course, you needed a little space between. So a drop stuck in the first 20. We didn't count that drop. How could 20 amas fit? The whole width was only 20 amas. And there you don't have any leeway because it's walls. 10 with a little space in between. How does it fit in exactly 20 amas? How would the Kohanim get through if the whole area is blocked by tables? And also that's a problem because then Motzinu Hey Shulchanas B'darim. We have 5 tables in the south, which we said was no good. Now I don't know what the Havamina is over here, because before we had a Beferish Brisa that said that 5 on the right and 5 on the left. I don't know why they thought it was in a row of 10. V'su, if you're going to do it in one row of 10, then where do they fit the Shulchan HaMoshe? V'su Shulchan HaMoshe Eichem Manachlei. Says the Gemara, L'Tamech, according to you, Mizrach U'Mariv, that went from east to west, so it fit exactly, but then where did you put the Shulchan HaMoshe? Shulchan HaMoshe Eichem Manachlei. Elami Sabrit Chad Darave. Do you think it was in 2 rows? No, Trey Dareininu. It was in 2 rows with the Shulchan HaMoshe in between. It was Trey Dareininu. It was in two rows, and the Shulchan HaMoshe in between them. All right, Rabbi say. We'll stop over here. And again, remember that tomorrow night we will have again shir at 8:20. I also want to remind you that we do not yet have a sponsor. All those listening out there in Kalalosh and YouTube, Torah Anytime Land. We're looking for a sponsor, 360 regular sponsorship, 540 diamond sponsor for the Chumash World, literally all over the world. Please call 718-916-3100, rmmwsi@aol.com. Thank you very much for joining us. And now we're going to count Svira. L'shem yichud kutsha b'richu